Bevins,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Marsh,
Here.
Yachty,
Here.
Campbell's absent.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comment? No? Okay. Staff report.
But the most recent staff report for you folks and for council is in your packet. Biggest stuff, so we want to talk about the city slate, which again, we started in 2021. It's sort of just a summer slate and is now goes year round. Though September, we only had one event, and that was an author visit on the 24th. October, we've got a whole bunch coming up, including one that we just had on Saturday. We have 4 different events, depending upon how you count them. Haunted Happenings has 3 different sort of times. We've got, we're bringing back the community pumpkin display, and we're going to provide pumpkins. Folks can pick them up and carve them and drop them off over at the Rancho House, which is there at the corner of Community and Penn. And we'll light them, and they'll be up for the day before and then Halloween. And all of the information about all of those this month is on our website, northlibertyowa.org/city slate. Again, we're on track to have about 45,000 folks attend City Slate programming throughout the year. We're also on track to have more than 40 events throughout the year. So we had initially sort of envisioned 15 to 20. That's what we told sponsors. Going into next year, we're talking, let's shoot for 30. So we'll see where we end up. We're in the process right now of talking with our rec team and the library team and internally about what that looks like next year. We're also in the process of talking to sponsors to renew those sponsorships. Julian and I have gone to a number of meetings, and the folks who sponsored it last year were thrilled to be part of it, and are excited to be. Many of them are excited to be a part of it. Again, we've got folks who would like to be on that list. We've limited the number to 10 total, and that's what we did this year, and we'll do that again next year. So it's good to have folks who are on the waiting list to do that support. The Youth Council was launched at the end of the summer. We just had our orientation with 17 folks. That's a program Micah is heading up. It is high school students who go to high school in North Liberty or that live in North Liberty or Johnson County. Our initial goal was to have 8 to 12 high school students be part of this program. We had a really good response, and we ended up accepting 17 to come to that orientation. All 17 have committed to being part of this initial program for this first year. We're excited. The goal here is at the orientation 2 weeks ago, one of the counselors said, "What is this?" And it was really exciting to be able to say, like, we're not sure because you get to help figure out what this is. So Mike is leading that program, as well as Marlene Mendoza, who's a North Liberty resident who's consulting on this and has experience at a national level doing programs like this for youth advocacy and leadership. So we're really excited to see sort of where they go. And it was really cool to see those kids sort of over the 2-hour orientation sort of go from kind of coming in and eating pizza quietly to like really engaging with each other. So we're excited to see where that goes. We also had Welcoming Week. We've been through this year. We've been part of a nonprofit called Welcoming America, their rural welcoming initiative that came with some opportunities for funding. It came for some educational opportunities. And one of the things that came out of that they urge every year and offered some financial support for was Welcoming Week activities. So we held, we call it Neighbors and Flavors. We had food from immigrants who served food and folks who come and sampled from around the world. Music from a band who played music from there, from Mexico and other Latin American countries. And it was a really nice opportunity to get folks together on the Rancho House lawn. We had about 100 folks. We were hoping for more, but I think it's the kind of thing that we saw a really good first step, and we're excited to sort of build that program and continue to invest in that sort of programming. We were talking just a little bit before the meeting started about Centennial Park. We've been spending a lot of time talking about what the next stage of Centennial Park is and actually digging into the design. And now we're in the process of writing a grant to the state. They've released a Destination Iowa is the grant, and it's ARPA dollars that are to support big projects. So we're working on a grant right now, hoping to submit it later this week. That would help fund part of that. The goal is to bring a large splash pad, a pavilion, an event center that has about 300 folk capacity inside with a stage off the back, an honor garden to honor our local service members and fallen soldiers, as well as do some additional hardscape to enable some additional access for folks who might have mobility issues or wheelchairs or that sort of thing. Also looking to sort of do some power upgrades. So as I told the designers, I'd like to never rent another generator ever again to do an event in that space. So some of those kinds of things, as well as just making it a space that folks can rent for weddings or family reunions, or for a business function or that sort of thing. So we're working through those financial pieces and that grant opportunity. I mentioned event sponsorships. We're in a cycle where we're about every fall, September and October, we do most of our fundraising for events for the rest of the year, including Beat the Bitter, Blues and Barbecue, and now the City Slate, which is sort of everything else. That's going really well, and we usually we hope to sort of have the bulk of it done by the end of this month or before the holidays, certainly. I think those are the highlights. I'd be happy to answer any questions you folks have about that report before we talk about things that Micah wanted to talk about.
Just a question on the youth council.
Yeah.
How did they get the word out initially to select kids that were on there?
Yeah, so we did some press releases about it and a few media interviews. We also reached out to schools. We made sure that it was in those virtual backpacks that everybody uses now. Nobody takes paper flyers anymore, and as well as just trying to connect straight with teachers and clubs in those schools, knowing that that was probably going to be our best avenue. We have both districts. We also have a youth counselor who goes to Regina, so we've got diversity there. We've got first year students all the way to seniors. So we've got diversity there. We've got I think a nice diverse group that represents a bunch of different cross sections of North Liberty.
Good.
There were a lot of flyers at the rec center and library too.
Mm-hmm.
So who would have done the selecting? I mean, is it volunteer? I mean, did they raise their hand? You want to do this? Or
Yeah, so they all applied. Basically, it was a very short application. Where do you go to school? What issues do you think are important facing youth? What are you passionate about? Do you have the time to make this commitment? What other things are you involved in and that would maybe prevent you? They're all very involved students, as you might guess. And then Micah talked with the folks to just sort of do a quick, is this really going to work out? And then we had some folks who applied who lived in Coralville and things like that. So we had some decisions to make about whether or not we really wanted to include folks who lived outside North Liberty. And I think we had a really good internal conversation about that. Our initial plan had been to accept North Liberty residents only, and we sort of realized that that some of these folks who live right on the border, but in the county. If Coralville started a youth council, they wouldn't be able to be involved in that probably. So we accepted those, just like we do. We have our library board has a member from the county, for example, and this commission can have a member from the county, for example. So we thought that made some sense as long as it was sort of minimal.
Great. Should we move on to staff or update from Micah, right?
Yeah, as I said, Micah really was planning to be here, and unfortunately, she's unexpectedly out of the office, and she'll likely be on maternity leave next time we meet. So I wanted to she shot me a note about just a few things that she wanted to make sure that we talked about that she's working on. We talked a little bit about the youth council. Again, our initial goal was at 8 to 12, and really found we accepted 17. We invited 17 to come into that orientation. She says applicants expressed interest in focusing on a number of areas as part of the new youth council, including inclusion, belonging, supporting marginalized communities, improving access to mental health support, taking action to address climate change, creating more youth-centered programs and activities, and giving youth a stronger voice in the community. After reviewing the applications, we invited 17, including folks from ICCSD, CCA, and Regina. They all attended the orientation on September 22nd. They all confirmed their interest even after hanging out with us for a few hours. And they're going to be sworn in at the next council meeting on Tuesday. So that'll be kind of fun. Then the Rural Welcoming Initiative, which includes that welcoming week. She as part of that, she's also working on creating a language access plan. So this includes identifying current and emerging language access needs in our community through review of census data and conversations with community members, staff at social service organizations in our area, and other stakeholders, and creating a plan to address those needs, such as formalizing partnerships with local interpreters, translators, identifying what those costs might be so we can pay for them, and funding sources and things like that. Right now, we know we don't do a particularly good job with that. It's all very ad hoc. Our website offers translation, but it really is it's a Google Translate, right? So it'll get people kind of there. We have language ambassadors; those are volunteers who have sort of said they're willing to help. But if somebody comes into the front desk at the community center and wants to rent a room, which is a very common thing, and there's a language barrier, we don't really have the tools readily available to help in that moment. So really trying to figure out what are some of those easy, low-hanging fruit best practices to help people who we just need to get through that language barrier, pay your water bill, that kind of thing. So Micah's working on that as a document. Mike has also been working a lot on the Rancho House, which is that house, again, at the corner of Penn and Community Drive, just north of the community center. We're continuing our work to make the Rancho House a satellite location for local social service agencies interested in better engaging North Liberty residents. We have spent the last several months connecting with nonprofits across Johnson County with phone calls and in-person tours to explore possibilities for how those organizations might use the space, as well as what furniture and actual things do they need in the house for it to work for them. We have a budget from council to buy furniture, and now we're working towards actually buying furniture, while trying to make sure that we buy stuff that we can make sure that space remains really flexible, right? Stackable chairs as opposed to chairs that don't stack. Folding tables that can get tucked in the corner for larger groups, that kind of thing. We are currently hosting some programming in the space. So in the spring, United Action for Youth's Spark program is welcomed a group of junior high students interested in interior design to talk about their ideas for making the downstairs of that space more youth friendly. I think they were shocked at how much a sofa costs. I have been shocked at how much a stacking chair costs, and I have certainly bought my own adult furniture. So that 5-week program served as a pilot program for some other youth things in that space. UAY has continued to host weekly drop-in programming at the Rancho House. that does free music and art workshops and stuff like that. So the upstairs right now has a electric drum set and some recording equipment, and so they're inviting kids in every Wednesday to do that. If you have teens that are interested, it's from 4 to 7 on Wednesdays. Like I'll be meeting with a woman from HACAP tomorrow, who is the new liaison to Johnson County, about what might make sense for them, or might there be folks that she can connect us with that would want to offer things there. And then also senior programming, which is a thing we've talked about in this before too. We're continuing to work closely with the rec, library, and other departments, as well as community partners, to provide programs and support for seniors. We are in the process of auditing our city's current senior programming offerings to determine where there are gaps and opportunities for additional activities. We expect to begin offering a number of new senior programs at the Rancho House and in the community center beginning early next month, in partnership with the Iowa City Senior Center, which we support. So folks in North Liberty can get Iowa City resident rates for senior center. So those are sort of the big things, and trying to make sure that we've got a plan for later this month when Micah is away from us for a couple months. But really excited for the work that she's done to really sort of shepherd some of these big questions and things that we've kind of just not had the capacity to address for a while.
Question.
Yeah.
So what big questions would be an example?
Language, I think, is a big one, right? We don't have a lot of non-English speakers on staff. We've done, when we did Welcoming Week last year, for example, we did video recipes with 3 different cooks, one of whom was a Spanish speaker and did not speak English. And so that was a tough thing for us to figure out. And we found a staff member who was willing to do an English dub. So we have an English and a Spanish version of that video. But again, if somebody walks in and says something and wants to sign up for swimming lessons and doesn't speak English, our staff's going to have a hard time doing that. So those are some of those big issues that we need to deal with. How can we make the Rancho House an asset to our community, and not just a house that happens to house summer luncheon fun for 9 or 10 weeks over the summer? How can we use that as a draw to these social service agencies to help folks right here without them having to catch a ride or have a car to get down to Iowa City? Those are big things that I think we want to address, and that she's got capacity to help us deal with and is working on.
So that's top priority on the list.
Yeah, as well as making sure that we're engaging youth. We've got a growing, teen base. We've long talked about North Liberty. It's a great family-friendly city. We do a lot of programs for kids who are, 12 and under, 10 and under, and their families. But we know that it's tough to find stuff for teens to do. I have a teen myself. I don't know what they do. Right. My understanding is that Hy-Vee is a very popular place to hang out if you're a teen. But there have to be other things, right? And so engaging them and in authentically engaging them, I think is important for us to do too. Really letting them, not telling them what we want them to say, but trying to find out from them what actually can we do, and then supporting them doing that.
And then you're working on some sort of a formal plan to help with all these things while Micah's away?
Yeah, just making sure that we at least know what we can advance while she's gone, what we can sort of help kind of nudge along, right? The Rancho House will still continue to be used, so to make sure we know who's going to run point on scheduling that while she's away, and what other things can we sort of move forward, and what other things are going to sort of maybe have to sit in stasis for a couple months.
Any other questions? Do we have any old business? New business? Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.